constitutional and electoral cases, standing firm on principle. These dissents have been widely discussed in legal scholarship and public discourse for their emphasis on constitutional interpretation and the protection of human rights. Beyond the bench, my past work as a legislator required a courage of a different kind, finding ways to deal with conflict, negotiating across divides, and crafting laws and policies that provide for gender justice, including the Sexual Offences Act, the maternity and paternity benefits, and in the African Union, working on the Maputo Protocol on Women's Rights. The second value which is most important to a judge of the ICC is pragmatism, which means balancing ideals with realities, ensuring that justice is principled, workable, and trusted by those it serves. By crafting solutions that respond to specific needs of member states, ensuring accountability, and strengthening domestic institutions so that justice is not perpetually outsourced to the ICC. My career has been shaped by institutions where the law meets life, in civil society, at the African Union, the United Nations, in the National Parliament, at the Pan-African Parliament, at the Committee of Experts that drafted the Constitution of Kenya, and in the judiciary, where I have learned the importance of being pragmatic. My vision, therefore, for the ICC is about grounding ideals in lived realities, ensuring that the ICC serves not only as a court of last resort, but also as a partner in building resilient national systems of justice, a court that applies legal principles equally across all the regions of the world. Efficiency, ladies and gentlemen, is the third characteristic vital for a judge of the ICC, and it means more than case management. It means integrating modern systems, streamlining investigations, accelerating hearings, and to reduce the time victims have to wait for justice. As a former criminal prosecutor, working under the Director of Public Prosecutions in the AG's office, and as a judge of a collegial court, I have worked to ensure consistency in the application of rules, to run a court effectively, and to manage hearings in a way that prevents delays. This experience has taught me that efficiency is about structure, discipline, and foresight, and it is this experience that I will also bring to the ICC. Victims are at the core of international criminal justice, and true justice must go beyond punishing perpetrators to restoring dignity. A victim-centered approach requires institutions that are safe, inclusive, and responsive, places where survivors can participate meaningfully, having their voices heard and see their rights protected. Equality of the law must be matched by equality in access to justice, ensuring that the victims are not sidelined by procedure or delay. My professional journey has always been victim-centered. At the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, I work directly with refugees and asylum seekers and displaced communities whose lives had been shattered by conflict. And at the African Union, I witnessed the devastating consequences of violence on fragile societies. My work on sexual and gender-based violence began then, while doing protection work for refugees, and I've continued this work through the legislation, such as the Sexual Offences Act, through case law, and through institution building in all the places that I have worked. For the International Criminal Court, the urgency of victim-centered justice is clear. Communities devastated by conflict often wait years for reparations, and prolonged trials erode faith in international justice. A credible ICC, therefore, must prioritize timely redress, strengthen the trust fund for victims, and ensure equitable support where the need is greatest. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, a judge from Africa must bring an African perspective. Africa has often carried the weight of ICC scrutiny, sometimes accompanied by perception of bias. The ICC must confront bias directly, not deny it, and craft solutions that reflect Africa's context rather than to impose external models of justice on Africa. It is important for the ICC to rebuild its relationship with Africa. The jurisprudence of the ICC also to date reflects little or no reference to African case law, African scholarly work, or even to African jurists. It is important that Africa's legal experiences be embedded in the case law and jurisprudence of the International Criminal Court. And this I will do. The elections for Judge of ICC, for which I seek your support, is scheduled for December 2026, where state parties will elect 6 judges from all over the world. If I am elected, then Kenya will bring to the court a deep respect for judicial independence, a firm belief in procedural fairness, and a pragmatic understanding of how justice must function in practice. Excellences, ce serait pour moi un immense honneur de contribuer à la promotion de la paix, de la justice, de l'État de droit, enseignant comme juge à la Cour pénale internationale. Je vous remercie sincèrement pour votre confiance et votre consideration. I thank you all. Asanteni sana.
Impeccable judicial credentials and a multilingual jurist as well. Another round of applause to our candidate. I think we do have an extremely compelling candidate. Makes our work at the Foreign Office a little less painful. Indeed, Your Excellency, allow me now to invite 2 comments, very brief comments. First, the candidate has requested that a leader, one of the leaders of the women movement, speaks briefly, and I will be ushering in Daisy Amdani to do that. I will then request the chairperson of the Senior Council Committee, Mr. Philip Mugo, Senior Counsel, to speak before we usher in the Chief Justice. Daisy, please.
Your Excellency, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, the Honorable Chief Justice, Lady Justice Martha Koome, the Honorable Prime Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi, the Honorable Attorney General, distinguished guests, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really not known for being nervous, but this was an ambush. It is a great honor for me to stand here to celebrate my friend, sister from another mother, mentor, very distinguished Kenyan, Lady Justice Njogi Ndungu. And I really want to appreciate, on behalf of her friends and even the women's movement, the endorsement that Kenya, the government of Kenya, and Your Excellency have given to her candidature. Now, everybody has spoken about Lady Justice's distinguished and illustrious career, which is so. But I want to speak on a personal level, because I have known Njogi for years. We have come a long way from our girlhood, let's say girlhood, from those days. And I have watched her from when she was a state council and I will say this about her. And this is not flattery. This is really about the person that we are here to celebrate her candidature. Njogi is a person of courage and conviction. She is not afraid to take a stand when a stand needs to be taken. I recall even when she was state council, she had the audacity to actually take a stand against a particular view, which got her into quite a bit of trouble. But she said that it was against the administration of justice. Njogi, as she has climbed, I will tell you that she is also a very strategic thinker and organizer. When she was a member of parliament and working on the Sexual Offences Act, it took a lot of convincing because there was a lot of resistance. The male members of parliament, I remember even one of them said, because at that time Jacob Zuma was being tried in South Africa for sex crime, and they said this is the law that they want to bring so that they can take us the Zuma way. And so Njogi helped devise a strategy, called in civil society, and devised a strategy, mapping, identifying the resistance, and adopting a message, and we adopted members of parliament. She got some of the most conservative men to be the ones to support the sexual offences bill at that time, and it passed. And when you think about where we are coming from and the traditional character, you understand that it took a lot of strategy to be able to pull that off. As Njogi has risen through the ranks, she has not become too big to engage. I will tell you that even as a Supreme Court judge, as civil society, when we have needed assistance, there was a time that there was a proposal to lower the age of sexual consent from 18 to 16 years old. And there was panic about what that entailed and what that meant for women and girls in Kenya. Njogi was happy to support us. She took off her robes and she would come to the office and sit. I remember the first day that she came to the office, the guards were very shocked. They said, "Is that Supreme Court judge?" Because sometimes you engage with people and they become, you know, talk to my PA, you know, but not Njogi. She's a woman of courage and conviction. I have heard her commitments, and I've read them, about bringing Africa's perspective to the ICC. And you can be sure that if there is a voice that Kenya needs at the ICC or that Africa needs, Njogi's voice is it. She has not been afraid to take unpopular positions. She talked about her dissenting opinion. What she didn't say is what it cost her. I think you all know, as politicians, Kenya can be a very difficult place when you take an unpopular opinion. And some of her positions, which are of conviction, have put her in serious crosshairs with people, threats and all. But that doesn't make her hold back. And that's the kind of leadership that we need. And so, even as Kenya has endorsed her, I want to say this. I also commit to rallying civil society because I know that part of the ICC process will be a Congress of CSOs, civil society. And we are going to call upon our civil society and women rights organizations to be patriotic because this is for Kenya. And Kenya blazes the trail. We have just had the Africa Forward conference. Africa is the new frontier. And Kenya is the one that is leading that trail. And so I want to thank you and congratulate you, Njogi, and wish you the very best, and to remind you this one thing, and I say this to you and to all of us. There is a lady who said that each one of us is a voice that God speaks into a generation, meaning that each one of us carries a certain mandate that only we can execute in this lifetime. And Njogi, with your work, even with the sexual offences bill, you know, you opened a whole world of other engagement. Today, women are seen, women are heard. survivors, sexual and gender-based survivors are seen and they are heard. They are not ignored. Our government hears, we have judicial processes for voices that were silent before. I believe you are a voice, a very clear voice that needs to speak now on the international stage. And so we will pray for the favor of Yahweh. I like the prayer that you prayed. Indeed, except Yahweh builds a house, they labor in vain that build it. You have a serious political organizer supporting you because, Mr. President, you have never lost an election and we don't plan to lose this one. So you must make sure we don't lose this one. We are firmly behind you. I would be remiss if I do not say on their side, Mr. President, the women of Kenya still have a date with you. We are still waiting for the 2/3 law. You need to open the gates. There are other Njogis that also need to come through. Do it, because you do the hard things. This one has been hard. Please, crack it now. Congratulations, Njogi, and all the best.
It's for a good reason, Your Excellency, that it takes a while to give a mic to somebody like Daisy Amdani, but certainly it was extremely timely. Senior Counsel Philip Mugo, you have the floor, sir, please.
Your Excellency, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, Your Ladyship, the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya, Martha Koome, Prime Cabinet Secretary, Salim Davadi, my colleague, Dr. Sodwar, the Attorney General, Cabinet Secretaries, Principal Secretaries led by the very able MC, Abraham Singwe, my good friend, my auntie, Lady Justice Joyce Oloch, ambassadors, judges, members of the bar, senior counsels included, ladies and gentlemen. I won't say much. I have known this charming candidate of Kenya for, I was just counting it, and without my phone it gave me a lot of difficulty. But I finally worked it out to about 38 years. And she is still as beautiful as she was then. But what I remember is something about, I call her Njogi for the purposes of my comment, was I was a little older than her in prosecution services in government. And she'd come out of, I think, Waruhio and Mwite and joined the government, like me. Had all the choices in the world when you're as bright as some of us were. Government is the last choice, but it depends on where you're coming from. Public service was in my heart, was in her heart, and she chose government. And she went into prosecution services, and those days, I was a very aggressive prosecutor. This is in 1986, 1987, 1988. The Attorney General had not yet joined prosecution services. She was a little behind us. And I remember Njogi once saying, "You are my mentor. I want to model my life on yours." Why do I want to come up with this? I think God gives everybody just one career. Mr. President, I think yours was politics, and you have done well. Those who went into defending straight out of law school defend all their lives. Those who start with prosecution stay close to a certain line, and that line is defending victims. When you're a prosecutor, you are always looking at the victim side, not the perpetrator side. So in Justice Njogi's line, I see everything that has been said about her. What she said about herself, what she says was her career line. She went into prosecution, went into civil society, went into politics, ended up in the Supreme Court, but her original line was prosecution. And when I listened to her today, the most passion was evident when she discussed defending victims and bringing justice to those who are defiled and those who are wronged and those who are killed and so on. So what I see today is a natural career progression. I must say, Justice Njogi, I wondered why you were hanging around in the Supreme Court for so long. After 13 years, what more can you be doing? You have seen it all. You have adjudicated upon it all. You now must go back to your life's passion, which is criminal justice, and in this case, international criminal justice. You're going there. I look at your CV, I look at your career. You are more than qualified. I don't want to say overqualified, because an interviewer says, then they won't give you the job. You are more than qualified. On our part, and I speak today on behalf of not only the Senior Counsel Bar that I chair, but on behalf of the legal fraternity, law society included, we fully endorse, we fully support your candidature. I listened to Lady Justice Oluoch talk about sometimes the loneliness of a candidate. In those days, perhaps there was not that much in terms of resources to support a candidate. We have seen what President William Ruto's administration does when it supports a candidate. It throws in everything. This is just the start. And on our part, I can tell you, you were escorted by the Attorney General and the Vice Chair of the Senior Counsel Bar, Joyce Majiwa. We offer you some of our seniors, led by Joyce Majiwa, to accompany you on some of your missions to secure support. So, Mr. President, when she says she has friends, make available enough for a ticket or two for friends. When she has a cold, she has to have enough people walking with her and speaking for her. So with that, we just want to assure everybody present, particularly the candidate and the president who is launching and supporting fully your bid, that she comes highly recommended and fully supported. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Senior Counsel Murgor, for your advice and for the ringing endorsement to the candidate. It's now my profound honor to welcome the Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court of the Republic, Honorable Justice Martha Koome. Let's put our hands together.
Your Excellency, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces, the Honorable Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, Honorable Lady Justice Njogi Ndungu, our candidate who is being unveiled today, all the Cabinet Secretaries, Principal Secretaries, Honorable Judges, members of the Bar, led by the President of the Senior Counsel Bar, Excellency Ambassadors and members of the Diplomatic Corps, our very distinguished guests this afternoon, good afternoon. On behalf of the Judiciary and the Judicial Service Commission, I express our deep appreciation to His Excellency the President and the Government of the Republic of Kenya for the confidence and support extended to the candidature of the Honorable Lady Justice Njogi Ndungu for election as Judge of the International Criminal Court for the 2027-2036 term. We are equally grateful to the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs. We are also grateful to the Kenya Diplomatic Corps and all the state institutions that have embraced this candidature as a matter of national importance. Kenya's nomination of Honorable Lady Justice Njogi Ndungu is the outcome of a very deliberate, consultative, and merit-based national process. This nomination is informed by Kenya's prior contribution to the court, including the very distinguished service that was rendered to the court by the Honorable Lady Justice Joyce Arwoch, who served as a judge of the ICC from 2009 to 2018. Notably, it has also been informed by the lessons of previous candidature cycles. I want to mention that Kenya considered putting forward a candidate in 2022, but considered deferring that decision and the candidature for 2022, allowing the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs to work in consultation with the Office of the President and the judiciary so that we could have sufficient time for reflection, for diplomatic alignment, and preparation of a stronger and more coordinated national effort. And I want to say the time is now. In the current cycle, the process was formally initiated by the Honorable Attorney General, followed by notification from the Assembly of State Parties, and was undertaken in accordance with Article 36 of the Rome Statute and the standards set by the Advisory Committee on Nomination of Judges. When that process was started and transmitted to the judiciary invited expressions of interest from all judges of the superior courts, subjected the applications to rigorous evaluation by the Judicial Service Commission, and transmitted the 3 recommended candidates for consideration by His Excellency the President. It is upon the conclusion of this transparent and competitive process that His Excellency the President nominated Honorable Lady Justice Njogi Ndungu, CBS, FC, Fellow of Saturn Institute Arbitrators, Judge of the Supreme Court of Kenya, as Kenya's candidate for election to the International Criminal Court. I want to emphasize that Justice Njogi put in her own application for nomination. The nomination was made in good time within the official nomination window, enabling Kenya to mount a well-prepared, well-coordinated, and nationally supported campaign. Your Excellency, this moment affirms an important truth that the judiciary is not only a domestic institution of justice, but also a very strategic national asset in Kenya's international profile. Around the world, nations are increasingly judged by the strength of their institutions, the independence of their courts, and the credibility of their commitment to the rule of law. In that regard, the Kenya judiciary is our country's foremost defender of constitutionalism, human rights, democratic accountability, and institutional integrity. This standing has earned Kenya reverence both at home and abroad. It has also made our judiciary an exceptional training ground for judges who understand that justice must be principled, courageous, independent, and outlive the context within which we live. As a matter of fact, because Justice Arwoch mentioned peace building, Your Excellency, on 19th June, we are hosting as Kenya a forum of Africa Chief Justices, where we are discussing alternative justice resolution, because this is the mode of justice delivery that resonates with our African people. And we are showcasing the work we have done to organize communities into NJS forums, what we call ukumbis, to discuss, and where they have been discussing their problems and resolving problems and building harmony within communities. We are showcasing this to the whole of Africa continent, and Kenya is taking the lead, including profiling our Nairobi Center for Dispute Resolution as a forum where disputes can be resolved instead of the continent traveling to Asia, traveling to Middle East, or traveling to London to resolve disputes. Nairobi is a hub, a center of dispute resolution. So Kenya's judicial tradition is increasingly defined by bold and transformative jurisprudence. Jurisprudence that embraces African realities, Pan-African constitutionalism, indigenous justice systems, human dignity, equality, and a deep understanding of international human rights. This is the foundation from which Kenya presents Honorable Lady Justice Njogi Ndungu to the international community. In the forthcoming election of the courts, December 2026, 6 judicial positions will be open for election of the court. Of these, 2 positions must be filled by candidates from the African continent. This presents an important opportunity for Africa to contribute judicial wisdom, our judicial courage, judicial experience, and legal perspectives that are shaped by constitutional transformation, victim-centered justice, and post-conflict recovery, restorative justice, democratic renewal, and relentless pursuit of accountability. Kenya has consistently, Your Excellency, supported multilateralism, the rule of law, peaceful resolution of disputes, and cooperation with international institutions. We have also invested deeply in building an independent judiciary capable of protecting rights, capable of resolving very complex disputes, and sustaining public confidence in constitutional governance. In diplomatic terms, Your Excellency, Kenya's candidature represents not only a request for support, but a continuation of a long-standing relationship of cooperation, reciprocity, and shared commitment to international criminal justice. Honorable Njogi Ndungu embodies the depth and seriousness of Kenya's judicial tradition. She brings to the candidature experience across prosecution, legislation, constitutional reform, human rights, gender justice, and adjudication at the apex court of very, very complex matters. Her career reflects the very qualities required of an international judge, a judge of integrity, independence, courage, intellectual depth, and fidelity to the law. She's a jurist shaped by Kenya's constitutional journey, Africa's legal traditions as she worked at the African Union, and a profound commitment to justice that serves both principle and humanity. With these remarks, Your Excellency, I want to assure you and the people of Kenya and the international community of judiciaries who support in this very important national endeavor. I thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Chief Justice, for your remarks. It is now my pleasure, honor, and privilege to invite the Prime Cabinet Secretary to address us, and thereafter to invite His Excellency the President.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable William Samoei Ruto, the Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court, Lady Justice Martha Koome, Justice Ndungu, colleagues. Your Excellency, first let me join other Kenyans in saluting you for pitching very, very effectively on behalf of Kenya and Africa at the Africa Forward Summit. It was indeed an event of great significance and consequence. So we really appreciate that you did what you did yesterday and the few days that were to it. Secondly, Your Excellency, to also say that we appreciate because another significant event took place. You did the groundbreaking for the United Nations expansion, where the UN is going to spend 340 million US dollars to make Nairobi a true hub for international relations in the global south. And on that note, let me acknowledge Ambassador Gary Cornell, who is with us here, former Prime Minister of Haiti, and also one of the top people, and including Madam Ida. Thank you for being with us at this gathering. At the Forward Summit, one of the issues that came up under the peace and security conversation, just to pick up from where Justice Aloch mentioned, was the misuse of the veto to suppress matters to do with genocide or victims against humanity and so forth. And this came up as a very, very topical issue. I bring it up because that is exactly where you're headed, Lady Justice. And the President and his colleague Macron chaired the session around this conversation. But now let me very quickly say this. When the President got communication, he was at the forefront in endorsing the nomination. He actually went ahead of bureaucracy and gave us direction and told us it is so decided. So we did what we had to do. We have all signed the cabinet memo because bureaucracy is now chasing the decision. I have signed it as Foreign Affairs. Attorney General has signed, and the Treasury has signed. But I'll not disclose how much we are looking for. That is a separate matter to help this campaign. So I just want to say that the government is fully aligned, and the President has made it very clear that we have to go flat out to support your candidacy for the ICC. The other thing that I would just want to flag is that I can attest to the fact that His Excellency has already left the blocks because he has already pitched and canvassed with quite a number of nations already. So he's not waiting, he's moving. The final thing is really to speak to Kenyans, Your Excellency, because under Foreign Affairs, there's a division on candidacies, where we are able to rally talented Kenyans, deserving Kenyans, competent Kenyans to some of these international assignments. It's an important area, but the appeal I really want to make is that when a president endorses a candidate, we need, as a nation, to ensure that we get the signal right. That is now a Kenyan candidate. That is what it symbolizes. And we must divorce that from any local partisan issues. We are going to canvass in one instance 190 plus countries, and in this instance 125. We cannot go there saying, hoye, hoye. It's a different ballgame altogether. And we must be united so that we focus on Kenya as a nation. And his stamp of approval is Kenya's signal. It is not partisan. We should not bring any local sideshows into this campaign. Let us all rally as a nation, because we are seeking something that will make Kenya proud in the international arena. Ladies and gentlemen, I've said enough. It is now my singular honor to ask us to be uprising so that we can invite His Excellency the President to formally launch our candidate, Kenya's candidate. Asante sana, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. Please, let's take our seats. I was at a meeting in Naivasha a few days ago. I don't know why consistently I'm pretending to be a linguist. So in this meeting in Naivasha, there was written on the wall, competency-based education. And I was asking whether it was competence or competency. I was later told that it was competency was right. Now, my good friend Musalia has also said something which I want to ask her whether it is the correct one or not. He has said, I'm requesting you to be uprising. And I was wondering whether it should be upstanding or uprising. Well, uprising looks like a riot or something. Honorable Mother Kome, Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court, members of the judiciary, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, today, Kenya stands before the international community not merely to endorse a candidature, but to strengthen the cause of international justice by presenting one of our most accomplished and distinguished jurists, the Honorable Lady Justice Susan Njogi Ndungu, as Kenya's candidate for election as judge of the International Criminal Court for the year 2027-2036 term. In presenting her candidature, we affirm our belief in a rules-based international order, the independence of the judicial institutions, and the universal principle that justice must remain fair, impartial, and accessible to all nations and to all peoples alike. Ladies and gentlemen, the ICC occupies a singular place in the architecture of global justice. It exists because humanity resolved that genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, and aggression must never be normalized. It exists because the global community agreed that the gravest crimes known to humankind must never go unanswered simply because perpetrators possess political, military, or economic power. But the authority of such a court ultimately rests on one thing: legitimacy. And legitimacy depends on fairness, adherence to evidence, consistency, universality, and equal application of the law, and unwavering judicial independence. International justice cannot endure if it is perceived as selective or preferential. No global institution can command confidence if justice appears vulnerable to geopolitics or unequal power relations. This is not because institutions are invaluable, but because civilization depends on institutions capable of defending the weak against the powerful, protecting victims against impunity, and ensuring that no one stands above the law. Kenya supports an international criminal justice system grounded firmly on judicial independence, procedural fairness, impartiality, integrity, and fidelity to the Rome Statute. We support a court that commands confidence, not through coercive authority, but through the quality, fairness, and credibility of its decisions. We support a court that remains attentive to victims, affected communities, and national jurisdictions under the principle of complementarity. And we support a court that recognizes that international justice and domestic justice systems must work in mutually reinforcing ways. For far too long, Africa has stood at the center of global conversations on conflict, accountability, displacement, democratic transition, and peace building. Our continent understands deeply the consequence of impunity, political violence, terrorism, and institutional fragility. But Africa has also produced some of the world's most important lessons in constitutional reconstruction, democratic renewal, restorative justice, institutional reform, and peaceful coexistence. Africa, therefore, cannot remain merely the subject of international justice. Africa must help shape international justice. And I believe firmly that the candidature of Lady Justice Njogi Ndungu is going to achieve this end. I have listened very carefully to her statement, and I thought I was persuaded that she was the right candidate. But after listening to her, I am even more persuaded that we have the right candidate. I knew she was good, but now I can confirm that she is the best. And she has lived what I believe in, that leadership and any leader must be judged by their track record and their vision. I have listened very carefully to the track record of Njogi Ndungu, and I have carefully also listened to her vision about what she wants to do at the International Criminal Court. And they are persuasive, coherent, and meaningful. And therefore, at a very personal level, on behalf of the government of Kenya, you have our endorsement, support, and we are going to campaign for you. Whether at the ICC, the United Nations Security Council, the Bretton Woods institutions, or the wider architecture of global governance, decisions affecting African peoples and African realities must increasingly include African voices, African experience, and African leadership. The majority of cases before the ICC have involved African situations, African communities, and African victims seeking justice. It is therefore both appropriate and necessary that Africa has strong, principled, and highly qualified representation on that bench. Not to protect the powerful, but to strengthen the legitimacy, universality, and credibility of international justice itself. It is in this context that Kenya proudly presents the candidature of the Honorable Lady Justice Njogi Ndungu, who is not just an accomplished jurist. She represents an entire generation of Kenyan constitutional reformers who helped steer this country from one of the most consequential democratic transitions in our history. I think Susan Amdanyi there, Daisy Amdanyi there has made a very compelling case from the civil society space for the candidature of Njogi Ndungu. You know how difficult Daisy can be. And sometimes she can become a bully. Daisy. And I was really very happy to listen to you, Daisy. You made a very, you are exceptional. I must say this. You are really good. And I think you have become wise over time. Really, you spoke with a lot of wisdom because you said something very fundamental that I listened to. And you said that every opportunity, any one of us, irrespective of what space you are in, is a divine opportunity, and there is a reason why circumstances and God gives you that opportunity. And I think you listen very carefully, Lady Justice Njogi, that this is not just an election, it is also a divine opportunity for you to speak and give an African perspective and bring African experience and all the other experiences that you have gone through to international justice. And as I say so about you, and I say so about every other Kenyan that has an opportunity to make a contribution, either to our nation or in any other capacity. And it is for the same reason that I consider my election as president as an opportunity to do something that God wants me to do in this country. And that is why Daisy says I have made all the difficult decisions. I want to tell you, there was nobody else that was going to make those decisions. It was going to be William Ruto, and that is why I got the opportunity to be president of this country. And I will discharge that responsibility with courage. Njogi Ndungu has been a very courageous person. She has not shied away when it was the right thing for her to stand, even if stand alone. She stood alone. And that is the essence of leadership. She has asked me, because it's rare, to deliver on the 2/3 gender rule. A very difficult assignment. She knows it, because it involves all manner of people, different institutions, and all that. But I will do my best. I still want to assure you that I will do my best. All I'm asking from my sister Daisy and all the other actors in that space is that the same way you have said Njogi was very strategic when it was time to pass the bills on Sexual Offences Act, and you had to negotiate with different actors in different places. I have tried to persuade the women movement in Kenya that let's be strategic. Maybe we need some lessons from Njogi on how to be strategic. Because if we aren't strategic, we can run into a lot of headwinds. Because you know the prejudices, you know the difficulties. And therefore, I did make some suggestions on how we can be strategic and we can have an offline so that we can agree on how to take that forward. Because we are greatly inspired by what we can see in the candidature, not just of Njogi Ndungu, but also of Phoebe Okowa. You remember last year we did campaign for her to take over the place of the judge who resigned. It's a 1-year short stint, and she won. Now she's serving in ICJ, and again we will be rolling out a campaign for Njogi Ndungu and for Phoebe Okowa, and even the CAB memo that that is being worked on includes the candidature of both our two ladies, so that we can, take the finesse and the competence and the leadership of Kenya into the international arena. We have a lot of, we have a whole department at the Foreign Affairs to support international candidatures. Unfortunately, we haven't found as many Kenyans willing, and ready to apply and canvass for these international positions. I appreciate that we have a great country, and everybody wants to be here because we have a beautiful country